Koi, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome. I hope to earn your subscription today. So in today's video, talk you over a few of the problems that I had last night with the pond, and then we're going to start prepping for winter. I've done a few bits already, just been tinkering and getting a few bits done in the spare time that I've had, but today we're going to do a nice deep clean and get ready for winter. I've just cleaned out the skimmer box, so that's now as clean as a whistle. Took that into the kitchen and gave it a damn good scrub. Job number one this morning. So without further ado, I will spin you around and show you what I've been up to, the problems I've had, and what I'm doing next. So, as you can see, the table has been moved out of the way and some of the wires have all been pulled up through. There's actually a wire missing from down there because there used to be a light plugged into there at the very end. As you can see, it says, you probably can't because it's not going to focus with that in the way. Lights, them lights aren't flashing, it's just the camera making them look like they're flashing. But we had lights over here. They're no longer over here. I'll spin you around. They are now up there. They are plugged in. I haven't pulled the cable all the way through yet, but they are now plugged in down there with a few other bits and bobs that are out here, and we now have a switch. So I can come out here at night and this whole area gets lit up by that. So it will save me fumbling about looking for what box. Had to replace a few of the screws because I had to take up some of the decking and whatnot to pull the wire out because it got stuck. That's all been done. As you can see, the fish are doing uber well. So yeah, that's where we're up to with that. Oh yeah, some of the strawberries that used to all sit on this mess, this is another thing that's probably going to get tidied up today. And my pepper plant, eating pretty much all the peppers now. I'm going to give it a go at overwintering the pepper plant. That's just temporarily down there for now, but the strawberries are now on here that were in them pots. So yeah, we'll see how they do up there. Obviously all my other strawberries and tomatoes are still doing all okay there. Let's have a look at the fishies. They're doing uber great, living their best life. But, yeah, the fishes in there are all doing great. They haven't yet been fed this morning. I've just turned the hose up before coming on the video. You can see it's pretty much at the level it should be. Looking at the skimmer, look, all going down there nicely. But I want to just take it right to the very tip top that it can. There's a blooming feather on my pond again. Because yeah, part of the cleaning job today is I'm going to get the drum fully cleaned. We've been holding a steady temperature on the pond at 15 degrees for the last few weeks, and we are still at 15 degrees today, so that's good. Why is the drill out, you might ask? That was part of one of the problems. I came out this morning to find very little water trickling over the shower, like very little water. It was like dripping over the shower. So I was like, that's not good. Obviously first thing you check when you've got no water is the pump. So I ran over to the pump, error 6. Quickly looked up what error 6 was. No water in the pump, running dry. No. Bloody hell, how can it be running dry? So obviously the only thing that could be is the drum is causing an issue, because everything else is gravity. So I come running out here to the drum and no lights on the drum. Bugger. So before I start panicking, open the fuse box and bit obvious what the problem, or open the plug should I say, bit obvious what the problem was. Let me spin you around again. My fuse had completely blown, like completely snapped in half and everything inside the plug. So that was why the pump was running dry. The drum had not gone round all night and very little water was getting through. So fix that, get the drum back up and running. That did a clean for like a minute or two. Everything started looking good. Still very little water going over the shower. What's wrong now? Go back over to the pump. No error codes. Checking the filter house. Everything looks and sounds good. What is going on now? So obviously issue with the pump. Took the pump apart, and God knows how long it was running dry for, but them oase pumps are supposed to turn off if they are running dry, but apparently not, and burnt out the impeller, or damaged the impeller. As you can hear now, the drum is cleaning, so we're all working good now. Anyway, put new impeller in, plugged it all back in, jobs are good, as Andy would say. So we are now back up and running perfectly, thank God. So prepping for winter. I'm not going to cover this winter unless it gets really bad. As most of you know, let me just point the camera down here behind the shed. You can probably, if I zoom right in, if my phone will let me zoom right in, there we go. Yeah, creeping up the corner of the shed, not that my finger will be able to point at it that high, but is a giant sheet of polycarbonate, and that almost covers the whole pond in one go. So yeah, the fry are doing great. We can have a look at them in a minute, but yeah, that stretches from here to about here, which is ideal because it just misses out the shower. So if I wanted to keep the shower running all winter, it could do, but if it got that bad that I need to cover it, then I'd be turning the shower off anyway, because the in-pond return down there is the one that's running through the UV. The UV is still on at the moment, and that won't be turned off till probably the end of October, I would have thought. Save a bit of electricity. But yeah, so anyway, I'm waffling again. Job today is give the drum a damn good deep clean, especially considering it wasn't really running properly all night last night. I'm also going to be purging the bottom drain again. I did it about 2 months ago. Haven't purged the bottom drain with this valve for a couple of months because I've cleaned the drum out about once a month, deep clean, and obviously the drains purge straight into there. So yeah, without further ado, I will open her up and show you what I do to give it a damn good clean. Right guys, so you're all set up on the tripod, so what we are doing is the one thing a couple of people have mentioned on YouTube videos, and I get the same problem, is a bit of waste build up in the gap between the drum screen and the back wall, and obviously any floaters that come through just group in that corner. So the first thing I do before emptying it and giving it a spray down is suck as much of that muck out as I can with a siphon. So I'm going to crack on with that and show you the results. Empty bucket, a little bit dirty, but empty bucket, a little bit dirty from the last time I did it. And all I do with my siphon, everyone loves a siphon, especially Andy, Pipe on Lifestyle, and start giving it a clean. But rather than filming me cleaning the drum, just for a few minutes or a few seconds, I'm going to show you what comes out of the drum when I do this. So here we go. As you can see, quite a lot. if anybody can tell me why my drum gets this dirty, I would appreciate it. One problem with these drums is the gap is just not big enough to get your arm in. Normally takes about 2 buckets to get this all cleaned. That's that half cleaned. Just about. And then we do the other side afterwards. Mine's splashing the electrics, numpty. But yeah. And yes, you can see a couple of maggots in that bucket, and that was just the leftover maggots I had from fishing that I fed to the fishes, and obviously a couple have made it into the drum. But yeah, that's how dirty the dirty side of my drum gets. So yeah. Right, well, there's bucket number 2. The drum's starting to get lower now, so I'm going to have to put the lid back on and give it a clean. But yeah, I don't know if you can quite see in there, but it's an awful lot cleaner now than it was before I started. You can actually, you probably won't see it on the camera, but you can actually now see the silver line along the bottom, which is a good bonus. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the pump off. In fact, I'm going to let it do a clean first, then I'm going to turn the pump off, close all the valves and get this drained down. Back in a second. So the pump's now off, the valves are now closed, the hose is in place. So as you can see, all I do to drain this down is run the hose onto the garden. So empty this all out. As you can see, that just runs all out onto the lawn. Probably will flood the patio. Normally I try and pump some of the drum water back into the pond, but I can only do that if the missus is here currently at the minute, because the control for the pumps is in the pergola, and by the time I've run round to close the valve, after turning the pump on, the drum's filled back up anyway. So on my own it gets a full empty rather than pumping some back into the pond. I can still hear running water. What's that closed? Hadn't closed the drum line, and that one is probably the stiffest one I've got. Didn't loosen it enough. Pain in the backside. Right, so let's go and have a look. And there you go. So that's all now emptied out on both sides. And now what I'm going to do, leave the valve open, leave it all open, and just get the hose pipe in there. Just give it all a good quick rinse down. Not that side, because we do not want any chlorine on the media. So I'm going to give that a quick hose down and I'll snap back to you. And there we go, that's now had a nice good hose down. As you can see, it's a lot cleaner in there now, and so we will open the valves and let it fill back up. Snap back to you in a second. Right then guys, so drum's all now nice and clean. I didn't purge the bottom drain into the drum because I want to see how much muck comes out of the actual purge line, which is down there. So I filled the drum up with the skimmer and then opened the bottom drain line. But I'm going to get the pumps on in a second, just to keep the shower and everything all running. But yeah, even after I siphoned it, look, there was still a fair bit of muck that come out all around the grass and whatnot. But I'll hose that down in a bizzle. Yeah, bits of muck here and there. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get the pump back on and then we'll purge the bottom drain. So we're all ready to go to give the bottom drain a purge. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, so I'm going to mention it now. One of the other problems I have, you might see the roof now is a bit lopsided and wonky. The reason for this is when I went to lift it up to fix all the problems that was in the filter house this morning, one of the bolts that was holding my gas struts on decided it was going to shear off, snap and let the roof land on my head. So yeah, that was another thing I had to deal with this morning. But anyway, we're all set up now. I don't normally do it like this, but just for the purposes of this video, I want to try and collect the water that comes out the bottom drain to see how much we actually get. Normally I literally just purge it down there onto the lawn and it then floods this side of the lawn, so the drum can do that side and then this can do this side. But yeah, for the purposes of this video though, we are going to see exactly what comes out. So without further ado, while you're sitting there, I'm going to go and open the bottom drain valve. Right, well that did actually bring up a hell of a lot more muck than I anticipated. A hell of a lot more muck. So yeah, I may do another purge on that, just to try and get it running a bit cleaner. So we'll snap back to you in a second. So bowl's been empty, we're ready for round two. Well, as you can see, that's much cleaner, and the pond is really low now, so I'm going to have to wait a little while before I do any more with that. But to be honest, I'm quite happy with how clean that is now. I'd say all the muck is out of the bottom drain. There's probably a bit of muck stuck in this long length of pipe along there, but I'd say the bottom drain is pretty damn clear. So considering I didn't purge the bottom drain into the filter, I don't know how many litres this holds, but as you can see, I've underfilled the first one and only over slightly filled the second one. So basically 2 of these bowls purged and the drain's pretty much clear. So I would certainly recommend anyone that is building a gravity fed system, even if you can purge it into your filter, because I do that quite regularly, still put a purge line as low to the ground as you can, because as you can clearly see, more muck. The drum's going to keep going off now because of how low the pond is, so I'll have to turn that off for a minute. But yeah, the lower obviously to the ground, the more force you're getting, and purging into the filter. The line that's going into the filter is probably maybe a 1.5 foot higher than where the purge line is, and that's how much of a difference it makes. I would estimate I'm pulling about during the summer I was pulling about 8,000 litres an hour through the bottom drain. Not a great deal, but the drum is shared between the bottom drain and the shower. The bottom drain and the skimmer, and I was pulling about 16,000 litres an hour over the summer, so I was actually turning the pond over between half an hour and every 45 minutes during the summer. Obviously the winter that's going to be a bit lower. As you can probably tell, I've already turned it down. It's now running at 25%, which is about 50 something watts. I'll show you that in a minute. But yeah, I've just turned it down when I turned the pump back on, because I knew obviously the drum was going to start wanting to clean a lot because of how much water we've lost, which you can see by the skimmer now. We are way down, I'd say about 3 inches maybe below where it normally is. So yeah, we've got a lot to fill back up. The hose pipes are pretty much the maximum it can be going through the dechlorinator, so that should take a couple of hours, I would think, to fill all the way up. So yeah, moral of the story, put a purge line in. It's a great help. Yeah, so that's the drum all cleaned out, the bottom lock drain line all cleaned out, all ready for winter. I've reduced the feeding right down now. Anyway, I'm just going to spin you around real quick and show you exactly what I'm looking at and why I'm not looking at the camera. My missus decided she wanted to buy a squirrel feeder, so we now have one little squirrel down at the bottom on the floor, if you can see that, down at the corner of the gate, and one little squirrel at the top of the gate on the feeder, munching away. Not that I particularly wanted a squirrel feeder, but got to keep the missus happy. But yeah, we'll have a quick look at the fry. I know obviously it's a bit ripply in there at the minute. Yeah, they're doing really well. Obviously these ones are my fry that hatched from my fish. I've got a net full of worms and daphnia for them. They will run away when I put this net in the water, they always do. And then when they realise that I've just put in, they'll all come back out. So that's not that you can see many of them, but they are swimming about occasionally. And there's still 39 in there. And then these ones are the fry that were delivered to me from the reefer. Just get another scoop of daphnia. Not as big scoop this time, but some more daphnia and some more wormies. These ones ain't shy. Water flea on there as well. And in. There we go. Yeah, great mix of fish this year in there, as you saw recently on one of my fry videos. Yeah, it's not very often you get to watch me feed the fish, because normally I forget, and I do it before I get the camera out. So that's the fish. Obviously this video is becoming quite a long one now, so the last thing we will have a look at is I'll feed the fish in the main pond. Right, there's all the 100 ganks. As you can see, they're doing really, really well in there. So yeah, these guys obviously don't get the daphnia and everything. These guys are still on their mix. It's mainly at the moment the wheat germ pellets, not wheat germ, sorry, the all seasons pellets with a bit of the hikari and a bit of the balance. But as you can tell, mainly the all seasons with garlic. Well, and this will be the last time they get any form of protein food when this is gone. Sorry, fishies. But yeah, this will last them another half a day, or like the rest of today and tomorrow, and then it will be refilled, and then it will be refilled with all seasons with garlic again, and then the wheat germ, ready to start switching them over to wheat germ because it's holding 15 degrees at the minute, but obviously that temperature is going to keep getting cooler and cooler, although it is going to be quite stable for the next week. So, but mainly all seasons, and then as I say, start switching them over to the wheat germ, ready for the cooler temperatures. But yeah, and then now you've seen them have a good feed of all the fishies. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. I know everyone else is all starting to think about their winter preps, covering their ponds. So I'm going to hopefully try and avoid covering the pond this year if I can. That's the plan anyway. But as I say, if it gets really bad, like an Arctic winter type thing, then yeah, the covers will go on. There's still 2 more jobs I need to do to completely finish this pond, which is sort the electrics out properly and get the new backing shower, but they're both as expensive as each other. It's getting an electrician out to sort the electrics out properly. I'm looking at about 400 quid. Ridiculous. And a backing shower is about 800, so they're both very expensive things, which is why they're not done yet. But yeah, the pond is now ready for winter. Filters are all cleaned out. I have just ordered another VariiSwitch for the main pond on the air pump. You might remember my VariiSwitch that's currently on the blue vat at the back from the previous video. If you haven't, it can save you money, go check it out. But yeah, I'll show you why, if I can spin you around again. Yeah, as you can see, the air coming out the bottom drain in this pond is quite vigorous, and because I'm using one pump for 2 things, again it's another 70 litre an hour pump, but that's powering the drum and the bottom drain, but I've got the drum set at a real nice sweet spot at the minute, so obviously the excess air will either have to be vented off or in the pond. At the moment I don't have any vented off, it is just in the pond, which is why it's quite vigorous, and rather than venting it off, I decided I might as well buy another VariiSwitch, pop it on this one as well, and just turn it down a bit. It doesn't need to go down an awful lot on this particular pond, but over winter, you know, even if I only save 1p an hour from this particular pump, you know, a penny's a penny at the end of the day. That's 24p a day, and that can all add up, can't it? You know? So yeah, that is my plan. So we're pretty much ready for winter now. Everything's all cleaned out, the pond's filling back up, and yeah, as Andy would say, job's a good one. Job's a absolute good one. So on that note, I'll love you and leave you. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to everyone that keeps coming back, and thank you to all the new subscribers. Hope I've earned your subscription today. A few more tips coming out over the next couple of videos, and I've also ordered a watt meter, which should be here any day, and I will be able to show you what them VariiSwitches can save you, if anything. So stick around for that one. A variable air pump. I did have a quick look online, couldn't find one, but I think manufacturers need to start thinking about that. I mean, obviously the variable pond pumps, water pumps, haven't been around all that long, and yeah, I think a variable air pump, it would be ideal. That way people don't have to turn it off in the winter, they can just turn it down. But anyway, I'm rambling again, so thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you all on the next one.